my name's Charlie and welcome to my channel, and welcome to probably my favourite video to make of the whole year, and it's definitely my favourite video to watch on everyone's channels every year. It's my Women's Prize fiction prediction, a long list prediction. So yeah, I'm just the Women's Prize is something that I have followed like actively since like 2018, so quite a hot minute. I just love the prize so much. It just brings me so much joy. They always pick the best books, and yeah, it's just, I just love it, as lots of you guys will know. Before I get into my actual predictions, I just quickly wanted to say thank you again for everyone that has ordered our bookmarks. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I will link the video in the above in the card, and then also in the description. So far we have raised over £300 for Book Trust in memory of our lovely friend Alice. So yeah, definitely check out my Etsy shop, Charlie's Bookish Gifts, if you want to get your hands on them. They did initially sell out, but I have managed to order more and they came really quickly, so they're now back in stock. So yeah, check out the description if you want to get some. Right, now into like the super exciting bit. The Women's Prize fiction long list is being announced on Tuesday the 4th of March, and yeah, myself and the lovely Gem will be reacting to that on 8 PM on my channel. So I hope lots of you guys can join us and just come along and chat with us. We love you plodders, we love like chatting to you guys about everything. So yeah, and the fiction prize one is especially interesting because most of the time lots of people have got lots of things to say about it. Now I'm gonna get, without further ado, I'm gonna go into my picks. I wrote my picks before watching everyone's videos because I thought that was the best way. I sort of locked and loaded them in. The only thing I will say is that I did cheat slightly after and added one in that my brain had somehow missed. So I have got 17 books to say about here because I couldn't possibly knock one of my already chosen picks off the list. I'm not a judge, I'm not, so you know, I don't care if I cheat on this particular thing. So yeah, so right, the first book, so that very book that I somehow didn't mention and that I predict here is Universality by Natasha Brown. There is no way that's not going to make it, surely. Like, I can't see this not making it. Natasha Brown wrote, for those of you that don't know, wrote Assembly. That was sort of set over the course of a day, and it was just the most beautifully written book. And this book, the blurby bit underneath this says, "Remember, words are your weapons. They're your tools, your currency." I mean, this just sounds that I know this book is just going to be a big hit, and regardless whether it makes the list or not, I 100% want to read it, as I'm going to say about all of the 16 books that I'm about to mention. So yeah, I can't believe like I didn't like, somehow I completely let that jump out of my brain, but either which way, I'm putting it here now, so it's my bonus pick. The rest of my actual predictions are There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. I love Elif Shafak's writing. All the books I've read by her I just adore. I was lucky enough to see her in person at the Women's Prize Live last year, and I nearly like passed out as she walked past me. She's just like the most loveliest person. She like looks really lovely and nice in person as well. So yeah, very smiley and stuff. So yeah, I had like, as soon as this book was announced, I was so excited by it, the sound of it. The hashtags that I found on xigxag is an audiobook service that I use religiously, and it's so useful because it's like got loads of information about the books on them. So anyway, the hashtags I found for it are historical fiction, narrative themes, interior life, identity and belonging, displacement, exile, migration, journeys and voyages. And it says, this is the story of one lost poem, 2 great rivers and 3 remarkable lives, all connected by a single drop of water. A dazzling feat of storytelling from one of our greatest writers of all time, Elif Shafak's There Are Rivers in the Sky, is a rich, sweeping novel that spans centuries, continents and cultures, entwining rivers, rains and water drops. I mean, it just sounds so good. And if that doesn't like sell you on it, the audiobook is narrated by Olivia Vinnell, who narrated the lovely Katie Lumsden's all of her books, and I love her narration. Obviously I love Katie's books as well. So yeah, 100%. I actually like, yeah, I've just bought it straight away, actually. As soon as I saw that Olivia Vinnell narrated it as well, I was just like, well, I can't wait any longer. I just need to get this book. So yeah, that's already waiting for me on my zigzag. I really hope it makes it. I can't see it. Again, this is another one I'm fairly like, I would be shocked if this one didn't make it. Right, the next book on my out of my 16, number 2 of my 16, is The Echoes by Evie Wyld. This was one that I first heard about because my lovely friend Gem of Books again, she read it last year. I think it was last year or this year, could be this year. But anyway, either which way, she read it and she loved it so much. She gave it 5 stars. And the hashtags for this are obviously literary, love and relationships, narrative themes of death, grief and loss. I mean, those are very Gem words, so I can see why she probably enjoyed this one. So yeah, my notes say, as a reluctant ghost trying to work out why he remains, Max watches over his girlfriend Hannah as he begins to realise how much of her life was invisible to him. And it says it's both a celebration of the autopsy of a relationship. The Echoes is a novel about stories and who is right to tell them, asking what of our past can we shrug off and what is fixed forever. I mean, it does sound really good. I have tried a book previously by Evie Wyld. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And I didn't wholly love it as much as what everyone else was loving it. But I still thought her writing was good. So I'm definitely willing to give this a try. And I trust Gem's taste completely because I often love the same kinds of books as Gem. So yeah, this is why I picked it. Right, the next book on my list is Shy Creatures by Claire Chambers. Claire Chambers wrote Small Pleasures, which was a book I loved a lot until we got to the very last bit, and then at which point I nearly threw the book across the room. But I feel like having a reaction like that shows that you it means something, because I feel like it does show the power of the author as well. So so anyway, getting to this book, the hashtags for it are family life and historical fiction. So obviously those things are big buzzwords in my world. And it says Shy Creatures is a lifetime affirming novel about how about the different ways we can be confined, and how ordinary lives are built of delicate layers and experience, the joy of freedom, the transformative power of kindness. Which that blurb is so that hooks me. I know how much Eric, the lovely Eric Carl Anderson, loved this book and it praised it, and he said that it had a really powerful, brilliant ending, satisfying ending. So yeah, I definitely cannot wait to get to this one. So right, next up on my list is another one that I heard of because of one of my booktube pals. I'm just going to mention all my booktube pals on this video. This is A Little Trickeries by Rosanna Pike, and this I'll read you again the little baby bit. It says Tib Ingleby had never had a roof of her own, but her mother taught her that if you're not bound by a big man's rules, there are many ways women can find shelter in this world. And it says A Little Trickery is a blazingly original, disarmingly funny and deeply moving, and it's portraying a side of Tudor England that is rarely seen. It is a tale of belief, of superstition, kinship and courage, and a ragtag cast of characters and an unforgettable and distinctly unangelic heroine. Which, I mean, again, this just sounds so good, and the lovely Jen, the general librarian, loved this book. So yeah, definitely one I want to get to. And also, I want to be seen listed on this prize, obviously. Right, here we go. This is one that the next book I'm going to talk about isn't one that I'm hoping this is actually eligible. I put it in my notes that it is eligible, so I think it is, but I'm not entirely sure. This was one that was listed for the Giller Prize in 2024 last year. So, and it's Badland by Karina Chong, and Karina Chong is obviously a Canadian author. See, that's why it was listed for the Giller. And it's described as a slow burning story of exploring the generational effects of repression and transgression set against the eerie landscape of the Badlands. It is about Regina, who is withdrawn from life, and it says Badland is a story about the toxic nature of guilt, the fragility of memory, and the ways in which we shape our own versions of the truth in order to survive. So yeah, that just sounds so good, and obviously that's why I added it to my list. The next book I have chosen is Wild Ground by Emily Usher, and the hashtags underneath it says love and relationships, and this book is set between London and Yorkshire, I believe. So and we follow about a character called Neef. So it says here it says Neef has always been a storyteller, and her story now is working in a cafe in London. It is that her name is Jennifer. Jennifer never knew a boy called Danny, never loved him, never had him wrenched away from her. But it says, but when Neef was a teenager, Danny was her whole world. As they got older, their dreams became tarnished. 15 years later, Neef is Jennifer and is determined to stay anonymous. And it says, Wild Grounds shows us an all-consuming first love and grapples with addiction, identity and class. So yeah, this one just sounds so good. And I don't know, like I saw the cover again, I was like, this looks a me book and it looks a women's prize book. That's why I added it. And the next book I'm going to talk to you about is called The Rest of You by Marmee Blue. And this is a coming of age novel, I believe. It says it's an emotionally wrenching novel set in today's London and in 90s Ghana. And it says it's exploring generational trauma and what it means to be Black and British, surviving the gaps of knowledge around a familial migrant's journey, spanning 3 decades and told through the viewpoints of Whitney and her aunts, Gloria and Aretha. And it says, and their house help, Marmee Sawa. The Rest of You explores what happens when we all try to resolve the mysteries of our past. I mean, yeah, like, I'm sold. Like, I want to read this book again, as I do want to read all of these books. It just sounds so interesting. There we go. The next book I'm going to talk about is May All Your Skies Be Blue by Fiona Scarlett. And this Fiona Scarlett is an Irish author, and it says an unforgettable story of love and loss and how the ones we love never really leave us. I mean, that just makes me want to cry just even hearing that. So yeah, and obviously it's tackling death, grief and loss. So yeah, it's going to probably be a very powerful book. And well, we always get a few Irish authors on the list, and yeah, something about this book makes me think it could be listed. Let's see if I am right. The next book, I'm not entirely sure whether it will be listed, because I don't know if it's, I don't want to use the words too contemporary, but because something about the cover looks very like contemporary, obviously, as you will see. But when I was reading the blurb for it, I did think that it could be listed again. So this book is called Homeseeking by Carissa Chen, and the hashtags underneath it are displacement, migration and historical fiction. It says it's a layered, beautifully written novel, blends love, music, history and heartbreak to create a sweeping tale that spans decades and continents. It's set between 1940s Shanghai and then we move forward in time 60 years later, and then we see meet up with the character of Hywin, who is then in his 70s, and it says it told in alternating narratives spanning 7 decades through the tumultuous period of modern Chinese history. Yeah, obviously it mentions, like I said in the thing, it mentions music. We know that one of the judges is a musician, I think Amelia Warner, I believe. So again, I think we'll potentially we will see books that have music sort of intertwined in them, and this is one of the picks that I've chosen based on that, as well as the fact that I just think it sounds like a good book, obviously. Right, the next book that I'm going to talk about is called Marmalade. I don't know whether I'm saying this right. Marmalade. Obviously in the comments you guys can tell me. And it's by Gemma Reeves, and the hashtags underneath it are death, loss and grief, and also identity. The blurby bit underneath, it says, Marmalade is a stylish, searing drama about the complicated love between mothers and daughters, the indelible impact of estrangement, and one woman fiercely coming into her own. I mean, all of those things sound very women's pricey, and I would not be surprised. And I hope that this book gets longlisted. The next book is one that I discovered in Waterstones recently. So and I saw the cover and I was just like, oh my gosh, and I read the blurb and I was like, this has got to be listed for the Women's Prize, surely. And after that I have seen a couple of other booktubers mention it, so like, does that mean that it's going to be listed? It could do. And this is Confessions by Catherine Airey, and it's the hashtags underneath it are sense of place and family life. Again, the lovely Eric has recently reviewed this. I saw a review recently by Eric. I had got it on the list before then anyway. Like I said, I'd locked and loaded my list, And but yeah, I know that Eric really enjoyed it and thought it was a really good book. And it says it's a remarkable debut, a complex and compulsive read that unravels the intricate twists and revelations among 3 generations of women with elegance and urgency. And that is a blurb by Miranda Cowley Heller, who wrote The Paper Palace, which is a book that was longlisted and I think is it shortlisted for the Women's Prize, which is a book I just loved so much. So yeah, and so yeah, I trust Miranda Cowley Heller's opinion, and I trust obviously Eric's opinion and everyone else that's read it that's praising it. Yeah, I hope this one gets listed. The next book on my list is The South by Tash Orr, and this says it's a radiant novel of longing that blooms between 2 boys over the course of one summer. It's about family and desire at once. Sweeping and intimate, The South is a story of what happens when private and public lives collide. So this is the first in a quartet of novels that Tash Orr is like accumulating, and it's about so she's doing this family portrait navigating a period of great change, and it says it's a reimagined epic of our times, which is quite a bold statement, but again, something about it screams a book that I want to read. Will it be listed for the Women's Prize? I do not know, but I want to read it and I want it to be listed, so let's hope it does. The next book is Above Us the Sea by Anya Card, and again, this cover I just think is just so beautiful. Do covers make you pick up books? Yes, they do. Well, for me they do. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. It says, the blurb bit says, it's after a night in Cardiff's loudest gay bar that Tony first lays eyes on gay retired Welsh boxer and his boyfriend Carol, and an aspiring Polish photographer. The trio soon fall into an intimate and ambiguous love triangle. Above Us the Sea is an ode to a tangled remains of lost loves and the imprints left by grieving souls yearning for connection. This is a story of aching and emerging intimacy and distance set against the increasingly hostile landscape. I mean, it just sounds so good. Like, so I really hope it gets listed. I really want to read it, like I said, regardless. And yeah, that's why I picked it. Book number 14, we are nearly getting there, only a few more to go, is The Wardrobe Department by Elaine Garvey. This was one I heard about from Keri's channel, Bookish Adventures in Wellbeing, which I'll link Keri's, I think that's right. If I've said your channel wrong, Keri, I'm sorry. But I'll link Keri's channel in the description. Again, she's like got an amazing channel and you all need to go and check her channel out. She's lovely. We love Keri. Anyway, the book says we're following about Mairead, who works in a rundown West End theatre wardrobe department. Her whole existence is made of needles and threads and running errands. Also, she must do her best to avoid the groping hams backstage and the terrible bullying of the show's producer. It says, despite her growing skills, half of Mairead still remains in Ireland and the life that she abandoned there. Apparently this is set in the noughties, and it says it's told with rare honesty and an equal measure of warmth and bite. The Wardrobe Department is a story about reckoning with the past, finding the courage to change the present, and asking for what comes next. I mean, it just sounds amazing. Again, Elaine Garvey is another Irish author, and it sounds a little bit different as well from the other ones that I've listed, and so kind of a little bit. And it's just definitely one I want to read. Like I said, regardless, it just sounds so good. So yeah, and it definitely seems like it would be Women's Prize catnip. So yeah. And right, the next 2 books, as I am talking about them, aren't actually published yet, but we always tend to see a couple of books like that, and so yeah, these are my 2. And the first one is called Goddess Complex by Sanjina Sathian. She is an American author, I believe, and it says, and we're following about a character called Sanjana. Sanjana is trying to recover her life. It's been years since she walked out on her husband Killian. But there's one problem, Killian is missing. And it says that this book is a darkly funny, vertiginous novel about the dilemmas of procreation, pregnancy and parenting. Goddess Complex is a twist-filled psychological thriller and feminist satire of our age and of girl bosses, self-care, influencers, optimizing cults and internet mum gurus, egg freezing and much more. I mean, it just sounds really good, and it sounds a little bit different. Sometimes you do get like a sort of more twisty book on the Women's Prize list, sometimes they do put books like this in there, and because it's discussing those other important themes as well, again, I do think it has a chance of being listed, and I want it to be listed. Please, please, judges, please say you put this on the list. I'm guessing they've already decided by now. Right, now the last book, and that's out on the 11th of March. So again, whatever happens, I really want to get to it either which way. Lastly but not leastly, my last pick is Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. This is out on the 13th of March, and it's a debut novel. Some of the other ones of these are debut novels as well, so I'm sorry if I forgot to mention that. But anyway, this is another music-y one, and it says, good songs come from love, great songs come from heartbreak. The first time Joe plays Percy one of his songs in his college room in the 2000s, she instantly realises 3 things. 1, she is watching a star in the making. 2, she can shape his music into something extraordinary. 3, she will always be on the sidelines. And it says, Deep Cuts is an irresistible novel about passion, obsession, love and longing, and above all, our need to be heard. So yeah, it just sounds so good, and I really want to read it regardless, as I've said about all of these books. Let me know what your predictions are for the Women's Prize long list. Let me know how you're getting on with the Women's Prize non-fiction long list so far. Let me know what books you're reading with that. Speaking of that, the Women's Prize non-fiction, myself and my lovely friend Jem, as you're watching this video, this Sunday coming, that we will be doing a live show with our lovely friends Amelia and Gretchen. So I hope that lots of you will come along. That's going to be at 2 p.m. GMT. So I hope that you guys will join us. It's going to be over on my channel for the next Plodalong. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say. Just thank you so much for all your loveliness, and yeah, I just wanted to send you lots of love as always. Take care. Goodbye.